Welcome to the pop culture news here on The Experience. We got a lot to get into, and Halloween's coming, so let's just jump right in and see what we can scare up. All right, Agatha All Along is doing exactly what you'd want a television series to do, which is grow its numbers as the show progresses. Now, this is just what the series is doing, as the seventh episode had 4.2 million viewers globally in just one day of streaming. That's up 35% on what the premiere episode did. Now, while the spinoff of WandaVision should have pulled in big numbers on its own, the hit or miss nature that Marvel's Disney Plus offerings have made recently has audience kind of leery, and some have been holding off watching until they hear what others think. Well, the word of mouth on this has been really strong, and the seventh episode was one of the best. I mean, literally hands down. It wouldn't surprise me if the eighth and ninth episodes, which will be released at the same time and will be the finale or the penultimate episode and the finale, do even better with viewers. Now, the advantage this series has over things like Secret Invasion is that there's very little expectations on what a series with Agatha Harkness in it is supposed to have. So it's not like I said, Secret Invasion, which there's this big, huge comic book event that they are based off of. That's what fans are expecting. Here, Agatha Harkness has been involved with Scarlet Witch and the Fantastic Four. There aren't any big, amazing stories with her that she's the center of. So I think Marvel's had a lot of room to play with here, and I think they're doing a good job with it. Okay, moving on. Netflix has announced a second season renewal for the animated Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. Now, the first season was released on October 10th and is focused on kind of the origin story of the much loved video game heroine, who's being voiced by Haley Atwell from Captain America and the Mission Impossible movies. Now, the planned second season will move the character forward in the journey to become the iconic adventurer we all know. Now, the series is written and executive produced by Tasha Hugh, who has previously worked on stuff like The Witcher, Blood Origin, and the Red Sonja series, who tells us that in season two, Laura will discover a trail of stolen African Orisha masks and join forces with her best friend Sam to retrieve the precious artifacts. Laura's thrilling new adventure takes us around the globe as she delves deeper into the hidden secret of the Orisha history, dodges the machinations of a dangerous and enigmatic billionaire. Is it only billionaires that get to have machinations? Just kind of curious there. Who wants the mask for herself while discovering these relics contain dark secrets and powers that defy logic, powers that may in fact be divine. So, yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch the first season yet. I want to, and I plan to, but I'm glad to see it's already got a second season. It's better when you go into a show knowing that it's already going to get more, right? Speaking of more, Daisy Ridley may have to wait a bit for more, at least for more Rey, as her Star Wars film lost its writer. Stephen Knight departed from the planned film, but director Sharmin Chinoy remains attached to the project. Now, Knight, who's also the creator of Peaky Blinders, had previously replaced Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson, who were the first to work on the project. Now, Ridley said recently at South by Southwest that she knew bits and bobs of the new story, possibly featuring Rey starting a new Jedi Academy, but she is still waiting on a script. We're still in the early enough in the process that the departure really shouldn't affect the release dates for the films, because there's two Star Wars films, not counting Grogu, Mandalorian Grogu, but there's a film release slot December 18th, 2026 and December 17th, 2027. So it should be able to hit that December 18th, 2026 one if they can get somebody on it and get moving. Speaking of releases, Venom: The Last Dance hit theaters this weekend, and it's been an interesting reaction. The reviews are all calling it fun, but not a good movie. It's one of those mixed films. They're like, oh, it's not good, but I had a good time. Okay. And US fans, they're not really rushing to the theaters the way they did for the first one. Only 51 million in opening weekend. Now, this might be due to the World Series kicking off in two of the largest markets out there, LA and New York, and that they played on Friday and Saturday nights, and they turned in to one of the biggest events with the Grand Slam walk-off home run. But it's not stopping the overseas audiences from getting into the theaters, as they brought in another 125 million, 124 million on their own, bringing the global total to 175, which is very respectable. And Sony should be happy with that. This is the third and final film in the Tom Hardy led trilogy. And according to writer director Kelly Marcel, now Kelly was the writer of the first two and co wrote this one with Tom Hardy and actually got to direct this one. This has always been the plan that it would be a trilogy. She said, "We knew it would be a three. We knew it was a trilogy and we knew it would end like this from the beginning. Sony asked me to direct. I was like, oh, okay then. I have been on the first two movies and it felt like we knew this was the third and final one and knew that this one was going to be both a blast but emotional as well." She also said that I feel like Tom and I have spent the better part of 7 years working on this. Really wanted to bring this one home from inception to the finish line. It felt like the right time to step up and the right movie to do it with. So this is her first film as a director. Moving back over to the main MCU proper, there's been a lot of talk about the upcoming Vision series from Marvel Studios. And while there's been no official announcement yet, the man who plays Vision is kind of confirming everything. At the red carpet premiere of his new movie Here, with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, Paul Bettany told the Hollywood Reporter, "We're cooking up something I'm really excited about." But he wouldn't go on to say more, actually telling them snitches ends up in ditches. It's not how I heard it, but yeah. The show is expected to start shooting next year and premiere on Disney Plus in 2026. And we've also heard that James Spader will be returning as the voice of Vision. Now, Bethany was also asked if he thought, what his thoughts were on the current WandaVision series, spinoff series, Agatha All Along. And he said, "I love it. I love it. And I'm so proud of Jack Schaefer, the showrunner. And I'm going to watch it again because there's so much for me to learn moving forward into my own contribution." Now, Bethany's been like an OG member of the MCU because, yes, he didn't become the Vision until Age of Ultron, but he was the voice of Jarvis and a part of the Iron Man films from day one, from Iron Man in 2008. Now, his character was also killed in Avengers Infinity War, then resurrected in WandaVision into two different versions. So we're going to be following the white version of him. I don't know. There's no telling what they're going to happen to the guy next. Okay, I was a little stunned by this one. Hollywood may have finally hit rock bottom on the intellectual property pool because Apple is currently in production on an adaptation of the grade school computer game, The Oregon Trail. You guys remember that? Oh, you died of dysentery. Yeah. The planned action comedy has Will Speck and Josh Gordon attached to direct and produce. And they've brought in EGOT winners Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, who will be writing some of the original musical numbers, similar to the way Barbie did them. And if you don't know Pasek and Paul, Pasek, I don't want to mispronounce his name, and Paul, um, they wrote the music for La La Land. They wrote the music for The Greatest Showman. Even if you're a fan of The Flash from CW, they wrote the proposal song that Barry sang to Iris. So they've got some good jobs. And of course, they won an EGOT, an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. If you're not familiar with the game, it came out over 50 years ago. And it introduced young players to things like typhoid and dysentery. Players were brought into a world mimicking the 19th century pioneering times as they would travel in a covered wagon train heading west. Now, the game was actually created in 1971 and became one of the first educational games allowed in schools reaching its peak popularity in the 1990s, and now they're making the movie of it. So it's going to be kind of a comedy. It's going to have some musical numbers. Uh, you'd almost have to go Mel Brooks on this one. A song about dysentery is about the only way you can really make this work. Moving on. Did you know this is the 10th anniversary of the film John Wick? And a lot of behind the scenes stuff is coming out, like there would be no John Wick movie if it wasn't for Eva Longoria, because one of the investors in the film backed out at the last minute, and Eva Longoria stepped up and gave them $6 million to get production on track. Or had she not done that, there'd be no John Wick. But another interesting thing that's come out, and David Leitch and Chad Stahelski were telling the story. Leitch said this has to do with the whole killing the dog thing. And I'm pretty sure that that's why I got behind John Wick. And I think that's, you're watching the trailer going, oh, yeah, it's another revenge movie. Yeah, you're killing a bunch of people. They did what? They did what to the dog? Oh, John, kill them all. Yeah, that's pretty much what everybody's attitude was about it. Well, according to Leitch, they said, we were told it's bad luck, it's bad juju, it's old Yeller. You can't do this. No one will want to see this on the screen. You're going to alienate your audience. And I'm like, we're going to execute people at close range. Killing the dog is one thing, but what about brutal massacre of all the human beings? Are they going to be able to accept that? Yeah, they are. They didn't understand that we were making a genre movie. We are genre fans to the core, and we know that those hard-boiled moments are what make memorable moments. Now, this simple moment that turned Assassin Wick into an anti-hero, and the audience suddenly wanted him to kill everyone. Well, Chad Stahelski added, Dave and I were very in sync on how we were going to shoot the scene. We were going to use a baby lens. John gets hit hard in the head, so it's going to be dreamlike. The dog's death happens off camera, and all you are going to see is the aftermath, is this trail of blood, making it look like the puppy tried to crawl to him. So on the day, Keanu was acting with a stuffed dog, crying. He's all beat up. He looks awful in his pajamas. Everyone behind the monitors must have thought, okay, this is the worst idea. These first-time directors are done. For the next couple of weeks, it was suggested that we shoot an alternate ending, revealing that the puppy actually isn't dead. But Keanu stood up for us, and Basil stood up to the investors, and eventually they just felt, F it. Just let's see what these guys can do. Now we're 4 films in the can, a 5th in talks, a television series, and 2 spin-off movies on the way. I think they made the right call, don't you? All right, our final story has to do with Spider-Man 4. And we've recently learned that Tom Holland has confirmed Spider-Man 4 is happening and that it's actually going to start shooting next summer. He, in an interview with Good Morning America, he said, all I can tell you is that it's happening. We are super close to having a creative. I think that it's really worthy of the fans, but I think now we feel confident that the idea is strong enough that we can finally say that it's going ahead. We're going to shoot next summer. The idea is crazy. It's a little different to anything we've done before, but I think the fans are going to really respond to it. Now, to go with this, Sony has added an untitled Spider-Man movie to the release schedule on July 24th, 2026. And unless it's the third Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie, then it's this. But Holland wasn't done talking yet. He was on the Rich Roll podcast where he says, we have a creative and a pitch and a draft, which is excellent. It needs work, but the writers are doing a great job. And I read it 3 weeks ago, and it really lit a fire in me. Zendaya and I sat down and read it together, and we at times were like bouncing around the living room. Like, this is a real movie worthy of the fans' respect. And there are a few things we need to figure out, but we can get that really going. But it's exciting, and I'm really, really excited about it. So looks like we're going to be moving forward on Spider-Man 4. All right, guys. That's the news. Thanks for tuning in. And remember to stick around for a minute to skim it, Mint Hunter, and Kicking It with Henri later today. And I'll be back on Thursday to talk about the season finale of Agatha All Along. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon. Take care.